I had no intention of taking a whole year off to travel. I wasn't sure if I wanted to upload it. I was really uncertain about exposing my vulnerability so much. And it really led me to redefine what success meant to me. Here's what I'd say to you if you're scared to take time off work. Welcome to the final episode of this series. Behind the Scenes Weekly is coming to the end. For those of you that don't know, 50 weeks ago, I set myself a challenge of uploading a video every single week for 50 weeks. I decided to do this because I was not working. I had a whole year off to travel the world with my fiance. So what I got out from this series was very different from what I actually intended this series to be. I had 3 desired outcomes from doing this. The first one was when I first started, I had quite a small audience, had about 1,000 subscribers. I was making health and fitness content. I just wanted a way to build a connection with my current audience. I wanted my current audience to get to know me better, and I wanted to get to know them a bit better too. I also wanted to improve my speaking to camera ability. I was happy with doing like voiceover stuff or reading off a script, but I found it really difficult to just be myself on camera. And the third thing I wanted is I wanted a way to document my travels. I wanted to create something that I could look back on and be like, oh yeah, I remember doing that. I remember going to this place. It was like a little public diary or little journal that I was creating. There were some things that I did not expect this series to produce. Firstly, I did not expect that doing this would actually grow the channel. I had no intention of growing the channel from this series. And I think we recently just hit 22,000 subscribers. It never ceases to amaze me. So thank you so much for joining. But the real surprise from doing this was how it became like a weekly therapy for me. So the reason it became a weekly therapy for me is because it was a disciplined and structured way for me to force myself to reorganize and structure my thoughts. People will say how good journaling is for you, and I think creating videos is like journaling on steroids, where you can actually get all your thoughts out and then watch them back to yourself. And I found a deep clarity from organizing my thoughts in this way. And kind of using this as therapy and showing up every week, the creating became almost as enjoyable as the travel itself. There was many a time where I would go find a local coffee spot, just sit in the coffee shop on my laptop, either scripting, editing, and honestly, it was so enjoyable to me. I would regularly get into flow state, and I could literally just do that all day and that would make me happy. And I'm not going to pretend like the whole thing was super easy, uploading every single week. And some behind the scenes truth to it is that it was very difficult at times. It was very difficult to go out of my way to make videos. It was difficult to spend so much time on something and then often questioning yourself whether you're doing the right thing. Time that I could be spending with Joe or time that I could be spending doing enjoyable, relaxing activities, I was spending making videos instead. And sometimes I'd be dragging Joe to some random location to film. And it was often super difficult when you'd spend so much time making something and no one would watch it, or it wouldn't get any comments or engagement or anything. I was never too fussed about the views. I would much rather a video get 100 views and 10 comments than do 1,000 views and get 0 comments. So if you're watching this, make sure you leave a comment below because I read the comments. I love the comments. I love responding to you. I love the back and forth connection. But this is when things really started to change. There was this one video that I made which kind of changed the whole direction of the channel. It kind of encouraged me to make content that was more authentic and truer to myself. And this video was called, I was a high earning doctor, now an unemployed traveling hippie. How did I get here? And basically it was kind of like me sharing my life story from doctor to burnout to this sabbatical year and how I ended up where I was. And to my surprise, it was quite an emotional video. I never intended it to be emotional, but for some reason, as I was shooting it, the filter had completely gone and I was just being and completely sharing everything that was true to myself, as if it was my weekly therapy. I just had this sudden block release and I spoke words which were really coming from deep inside. And it sounds super cheesy, but I genuinely mean that. And it's funny because I almost didn't upload that video. I had filmed it, I had edited it, and I watched it back, and I remember telling my partner Joe that I wasn't sure if I wanted to upload it. I was really uncertain about exposing my vulnerability so much. And the only reason I did upload it was because of that weekly deadline. If I didn't have that weekly deadline, I would have just been like, that's fine. I'll just wait till another time and film and redo something and upload something that I'm comfortable with. But because I had that pressure to upload on that Sunday and I hadn't filmed anything else, I just had to put it on the internet. The thing is, it ended up being the video that people could connect with the most. I couldn't believe how many people could relate to that story and how it really changed the trajectory of my whole channel and my whole thought process and my whole life. And what I learned from that video of me sharing my true authentic story versus me trying to share like health and fitness advice is that people don't want perfect advice. They want relatable stories. And I think the best stories come from truth and authenticity. So this is something I haven't really shared before, but I had no intention of taking a whole year off to travel. I'd done a lot of traveling before this last year off, and really it was my fiance Jo who, it was really her dream to travel for such an extended period of time. I thought I would have been happy with 6 months, maximum 8, and that would be me. I was actually afraid of going away for so long because when I've had long periods off in the past, I have found that my mental health has deteriorated, where I felt a bit meaningless, purposeless, lost direction. And I was really afraid of falling back into that headspace again. And before we left, I was even considering flying back from the travels, work for a period of time as a locum, and then flying back out to meet Jo. But actually, starting this saved me from that, because the travel gave me stuff to talk about, and it also gave me space to explore what I really wanted. And I didn't think it's what I wanted, but it's what I needed, because I still wanted to work, but by giving me that space and by putting me in these new environments, it gave me the ability to work on my dreams instead. And for that reason, I'll be forever grateful for my fiance for having this dream and sharing it with me. Because if it wasn't for her, I'd probably just be in the same rut at home, doing the same thing and not really changing anything about my life. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Jo. Some people would ask me, what was the hardest thing about being away from medicine, the work, the structure? And what I found really was that I just built my own structure. I didn't need someone else, I didn't need an employer telling me how my day should look like. The only hard thing about being away for so long was probably the financial stress of not having any income coming in. And I think a lot of our identity is tied to our income and the way we make money. And that was oftentimes the hardest thing to come to terms with. But then I made my own work. I created my own job. And I kind of realized that the terms work and job don't necessarily mean the same things. You can work every single hour of the day and not have a job. And you can have a job and not be working at all. And it really led me to redefine what success meant to me. Success wasn't about how much money I made or how many views I got, but it was about how I felt when I created something that I was proud of. How I felt every Sunday when I had packaged this video together and clicked upload. That feeling to me is the feeling of success. And here are my biggest takeaways. I think firstly and most importantly is don't be afraid to show yourself, because that is where connection is made. People don't want to be told what to do. They want to connect with another human being. The next takeaway is Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law states that a task will expand or contract depending on the time allotted to it. So by giving yourself less time, you get more done. And I truly, truly believe in this, because with less time, you have less perfectionism and more productivity. The weekly upload schedule was my deadline, and it was the best thing I ever did for myself. The next big takeaway is that sometimes you do a thing and maybe it wasn't what you wanted, i.e. me taking a whole year off when I thought traveling for an extended period could potentially lead to a decline in my mental health. But actually, it was the exact thing I needed. If I could give advice to my week 1 self, to that person that I was 50 weeks ago when I first started that series, all I would say is this. Firstly, keep showing up. You'll be surprised how much you can achieve just by showing up. You're already ahead of 90% of the people by turning up regularly. The second piece of advice would be, don't tie your self-worth to the metrics, just tie your self-worth to making things that you're proud of. Strive for consistency, not perfection, because progress comes with the consistency. And here's a behind the scenes truth. It will be hard. The journey of sticking to something regularly is harder than it looks. Like, we often watch YouTubers and think, they're just making videos in the bedroom, just upload it willy-nilly. But actually there's a lot that goes behind it. But I think it's the hardness and the difficulty that makes it beautiful. Because without that, everyone would do it and it wouldn't be special. So what comes next? This series is over, but I'm going straight into a new series. This has been one of the best things I've ever done, so I want to continue the momentum, but just with a different title on the episodes. A title that sums up the next chapter a little bit better. I've got a few ideas for the name of the series and what it's going to be about, but really I want to bring the lessons from my year off back into a life of normal work. And I want to continue building a life full of health, creativity, freedom, flexibility, authenticity. And by sharing my story, I want to help you do the same. So here's my final message to you to end this series. Firstly, thank you so much if you've been tuning in regularly. It really, really means the world to me. If you could, leave me a comment, just so I know that you've been watching, and it just means so much to me when someone comments and I can see that who I'm talking to is a real person. And I'm sure if you enjoy my videos, we'd probably be really good friends in real life. If there's something that you want to do, it doesn't have to be YouTube, it doesn't have to be making content, but half the battle is showing up. Just set yourself deadlines, show up regularly, and be honest with yourself with what you want. Write it down, make a plan. Here's what I'd say to you if you're scared to take time off work. I've met hundreds, maybe even thousands of people now, and I've never met a single person who has regretted taking a break. Taking a break is scary, but there's nothing scarier than living a life not true to yourself. So please do what you want to do. You won't regret it at all. This video will be uploaded on a Sunday, but I will actually have started work by then. So it's going to be very exciting to see what happens from here, how my content's going to evolve, and I hope you continue to enjoy the journey. At the start of this series, I had this cheesy quote which I'd always finish the episode on, which was, keep training, keep living, peace.